Hey everybody, Trev here on the lovely, beautiful, sunny 24, 25-degree day up here on the Gold Coast. I have a great interview to do today. The lady who is going to be joining us has been labelled as a conversation starter through our Facebook group. She has posted a lot of interesting comments and opened up quite freely about her upbringing as being a daughter of a Vietnam veteran. So I'd like to welcome everybody to Lani Finn. Lani, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Trev. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I'm loving the shirt that you're just wearing there. And is that a matching necklace that you have
It
on?
is. Yes, yeah, Vietnam veteran one.
That is sensational. You'll have to put a link down below of where you got that from, because that didn't come from me, guys. It's where did you get that from, Lani?
My mum got one for my sister and I many years ago, so yeah, I'd have to ask her where she got them from.
Yeah, well, I think you're going to be asking because there might be a few posts in the comments below saying, Lani, I need one, I want one, and can you make it as a bracelet for me or something like that? So, yeah, that looks amazing. So you'll have to ask your mum for us.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Excellent. Well, let's start off with when and what unit did your dad serve over in Vietnam?
So yeah, forgive me if I get the dates wrong, Dad. But yeah, so pretty sure it was 67 to 68. He was in 7th Battalion, conscripted infantryman for 12 months.
Wow, and what age was he when he went to Nam? I think my dad was 19, 20 years of age.
Yep, so I'm pretty sure when he was in Vietnam, he was 21 and had his 22nd birthday over there.
Wow, 20, 21, 22 years of age. I mean, everyone who's watching this right now, just think of what were you doing when you were like 21, 22 years of age? Myself, I was at the height of my AFL football career, chasing a bit of leather around the paddock and kicking it through some goals and, just living life, one match at a time and just training and drinking out with the boys and, I was actually engaged at that point in time too. I was a young man to find love, and so, man, I just can't comprehend sometimes, with all the research I've been doing on this documentary and what they went through. I mean, what effects can you look back on now from your dad coming and serving in Vietnam to you growing up as a young teenager?
So I wasn't born until 1980, so I didn't know my dad before or after. But I mean, like you said, I'm pretty sure my dad was at the peak of his football career as well. I think he just got best on ground for that year. I feel like there's a trophy that I can picture from that time. But yeah, so and then just conscripted into fighting a war and to be trained really to kill. And that's what they were. They were trained to kill people. So to go, be plucked out of that normal everyday life into this, I guess it's kind of like a robot mentality of where they're trained to do that and to be a certain way. And I guess I think about, that movie, we've been talking about it in the group a lot, the Battle of Long Tan. What's it called again?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've just gone blank. Yeah, that movie. We know that movie. Everyone's going to be writing messages. Yeah. And we'll be talking about something else, and it's going to come into our heads.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think about there's a point in that movie where it's you probably know the point that I mean. It's like an eerie silence, and it's waiting for for the war to break out, I guess. And when you're watching that movie, you hold your breath, while waiting for and anticipating what's going to happen next. And, you kind of, I think that's 12 months. Like the Vietnam War, there wasn't downtime. They were constantly under attack. And to have held your breath for 12 months, the only thing I can really liken it to is watching like a horror movie or a thriller movie, which I can't watch these days anymore. But when you're holding your breath in the anticipation of, what's going to happen. And I just think seeing that one point in that movie just made my dad's anxiety just make complete sense to me. To think, it's hard to get your head around that they carried that around with them for 12 months, and then to come home to a nation that didn't respect them, didn't appreciate them. Like, they were flown home in the middle of the night to avoid being spat on and have paint thrown at them. And I kind of think it's just a hole in a person's psyche, you know, a hole in their spirit, really, that there's been nothing to fill that, you know. Even like the Vietnam veterans, they had to organise their own welcome home parade, like, what was it, 15, 20 years after the war had ended. And you just think that's just crazy. Like, that hole's never been filled for them.
Yeah, it is. Like, I think you summed up really well there. I mean, there was no downtime. Even when they went back to the barracks and they could probably chill out a little bit and have a beer with their mates, they're still on edge. And it's not like you can, you know, we who work a 9 to 5 job or whatever hours, and Monday to Friday, if that's your week, and then you got your Saturday, Sunday to relax and to go out and go to the park and go to the beach and completely chill out. They're always on edge, you know, constantly. Yeah. And like you said, when they came home, man, it was just insane. You know, my dad hasn't really opened up a lot about that, other than he was dumped at Essendon Airport at like 2 o'clock in the morning and no transport for him, and said, well, there you go, get on with life. You know, you've done your service pretty much. Not a thank you or anything, just like bugger off. You can't hang around here. You know, from being in war and that eerie silence that you were talking about, was your dad like my dad, who cut off a lot of emotional like connection with me, his son? Did your dad have like an emotional detachment with you, being a daughter? Was there a different bond growing up as a teenager? Were you close with your dad?
Yeah, look, I mean, we were a close family, and I really put that down to my mum. She was kind of like the rock that held us all together. But as far as like talking about emotions or how I felt about certain things, I didn't do that with my dad. I always saved that, you know, those talks for my mum. I know that as a kid, like, I just idolised my dad. I look back at photo albums, and there's, you know, just me kind of clinging on to my dad, you know, just always wanting to be next to him in photos and that kind of thing. Yeah, so as a kid, like, I guess I didn't understand that. Like, I'd say to my dad, I love you, Dad, and he'd say, that's good, mate. You know, so I guess after hearing that time after time, you just kind of go, okay, I don't know. Yeah, it's
that
yeah.
What I'm glad you mentioned that, because when you wrote that in the group, and you wrote that up, and you actually also sent me a little thing that I've posted up, that story on my website, and that hit me so hard that you said, I love you, and oh, that's great, mate. My dad used to say that too. He's like, okay, yeah, great, mate. The word love, I mean, I'm 47-ish, I think, around there. You lose track of your age as you get on, but still waiting for that day that dad will say, I love you, son. I love you, Trev. You know, it just hasn't come. And I know, look, as a dad myself, and I've got daughters, I tell them constantly that I love them, because I know they get a sense of their self-worth and their confidence and all that comes from them. How did it affect you as a teenage girl growing up, going through hormones and everything like that, to have your dad not to say, hey, I love you, Lani, or I love you back to you? Did that affect you or affect your relationships in any way?
Yeah, look, I've never been great at relationships, but I guess from that I sought out male approval, because I wasn't getting that from my dad. Like, even as a kid, I wasn't into footy, I wasn't into sports, like the things that he was into, so there was nothing for us to connect on as I was growing up. So yeah, I sought out the wrong kinds of affection, I guess, the wrong kinds of relationships. Just to, I don't know, like maybe even to just play with, like, what does that feel like to have a guy show you affection? You know, because I hadn't had that from my dad. So yeah,
it's a dangerous dangerous area, isn't it? Because you can really go searching for that love, which, look, everyone needs to feel the sense of love, and that someone really cares for them. And look, I know my dad loved me, but he loved me in different ways. You know, he
yeah,
loved me in providing a roof over my head, providing all the sporting equipment I needed to be needed for my different sporting ventures that I wanted. He provided, you know, food on the table and clothes on our back. We never, ever, ever went without. But the one
yeah,
thing that was lacking was that emotional love, that
yeah,
emotional connection. And I know how hard it was for me growing up,
yeah.
not having that. But did you find yourself in tricky situations because of searching for that love with others?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like you say, you know, I knew at an intellectual level that that my dad loved me, and you know, the same as you, he provided. And look, he would, you know, he would knock someone out for me, like at the drop of a hat, if I wanted him to. So there was that. But yeah, I guess looking back at that, as a 13-year-old, you know, like I remember I had I was having an argument with a girl at school, and I went home and I said to my dad, you know, look, this girl at school, she's, you know, she's been really mean to me. Like, what do I do? Well, he took me to the side and taught me how to fight, you know, like first year.
Well, hang on. Wasn't it called a Fitzroy uppercut or something? Hey, come on, let's
Yeah.
get to the point of it. It's a Fitzroy uppercut.
Yeah, it was the Fitzroy uppercut to finish it off. Um, but yeah, so I went to school and I did that the next day. And, you know, and I guess I felt really like proud of myself because I won that fight. And, you know, I thought, oh, Dad will be pretty happy with me for that. Like, so it's that constant thing of seeking his approval, I guess in all the wrong ways. But yeah, and I mean, he was proud of me. I
Didn't
rang
you
him
have
up.
to call him? You had to call him from the
Yeah, I had
principal's
to.
office, didn't you?
Yeah, I was called into the principal's office and they said, oh, you know, you've been suspended. You need to call somebody up. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely calling Dad. I'm not calling my mum. So I rang him up and
Why?
I said,
Hang
oh,
on.
Dad.
Why did you decide? You said that you had all the emotional attachment with your mum. Why then was it that you called your dad?
Well, I guess because, you know, my mum would have been angry about that. You know, my mum hadn't raised me that way. So, yeah, I
And
knew that Dad.
what was your dad's response?
So, well, I said to him, I said, oh, Dad, you know how you taught me to fight last night? And he goes, yeah, mate. I said, well, I kind of did that today, you know, to that girl that was annoying me. And he said, and I said, and I've been suspended. And he said, well, did you win, mate? Did you win? And I said, yeah, Dad, I won. He was like, well, that's the main thing. All right, I'll come and get you.
what was that's all he cared about, was that you won, and then he taught you that uppercut punch. Fitzroy. Now, for people that don't know, overseas in America and all that, Fitzroy is a suburb within Melbourne, and it's known to be pretty tough. It's a tough suburb, all right? So a Fitzroy uppercut is something that you really finish someone off with. And what do you think the response would have been if you had to call your mum?
Yeah, she wouldn't have been happy. You know, she probably would have been crying. You know, she would have been in tears about the whole thing, I think.
Wow. So like,
Two very different responses.
yeah. So your dad was there in that different kind of love and a different kind of support. Like they're a more physical, like a fighting support. You know, make sure that you win. That's so good. I love that when you posted that up on the group, and I reached out to you. Can I put that on our website? I just love that story. It's amazing. Another thing which really touched my heart, and personally, I have not been able to do this really yet, because when I first spoke to my dad 15 years ago that I wanted to make this documentary, he said, if you do, I disown you as a son. and
Wow.
that hit me hard, and that took this idea and just buried it deep down inside that I didn't want to do that. And then after I lost my mum to cancer, and then a few things happened, it started to well up again, this whole idea of making this documentary, the effects from that second and third generation. And I was petrified to actually call Dad back up and tell him that this is what I was going to do. And to my sheer amazement, he was actually very supportive now of what I was doing, which is fantastic. But you wrote on the group, and it's something that I just so honor you for doing this. And I'd like you to talk about it a bit more, is that you said that at the age of 24 that you sat down with your dad and you explained to him your feelings of your upbringing, of him especially being an ex-serviceman in the Vietnam War. Can you explain to me what was going through your mind before that, and part of that conversation, and a bit of the outcome from that?
So basically, I was living in Geelong at the time, and I was living with another couple. One of those girls, yeah, still one of my best friends. And we were all just sitting around one night talking about our dads, and we'd all had these different issues in our lives because, in some way or another, because of our dads. You know, not blaming my dad. I don't blame him at all for any of that. I just want to make that very clear. But yeah, I mean, you know, as parents, like, we do things to our kids that are going to affect them later on in life, and we don't quite know what that's going to be when it happens. But yeah, so I just basically, I was at a point inside myself where my anxiety was just through the roof. I had that, you know, kind of sick feeling in my stomach all the time, and I thought, I'm just not going to get past this until I talk to my dad about it. So I said to my friends, I said, I'm going to go home and I'm going to talk to my dad about this. So I did. I went home and I was in absolute tears. I remember taking him outside and saying to him, look, Dad, I know that you love me, but I've never felt that you love me. I know at an intellectual level that you do, but I've never felt that from you emotionally. And I said, I feel like the thing that could make that better for me is if you write me a letter. See, I was a really words of affirmation person. I don't know if you've ever read like the 5 love languages.
Oh yes, yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, really good book that, you know, it does make you aware as an adult. You know, I was 24 and I knew then that, okay, we do express our love in different ways. You know, there's the acts of service, which, you know, we've both grown up with from our dads looking after us in that way. But I knew my love language was words of affirmation. So I liked to get letters. I liked to get cards for people to let me know that, you know, how they felt about me. So I said to him, if you could just write me a letter and let me know what you think about me, I think that could provide some healing for me. And he said, absolutely, yeah, I'll definitely do that for you. And it was terrifying for me to actually sit down and say this to him. I think it's just that fear really of crying in front of other people and just being so vulnerable. But yeah, so I woke up the next morning and there was the most beautiful letter on the kitchen table that I don't want to cry.
That's okay.
I carried that letter around with me for years afterwards. Trev, I knew I shouldn't have worn mascara.
It's a touchy thing, of course. You're making me cry, and I didn't even get the bloody letter.
I've got it sitting right here, so I think that's, yeah. But yeah, I carried that letter around with me and I read it to anyone that would possibly listen, always blubbering through it as I read it out. But, you know, I was just like, this is just the best. Like, I just feel healed from that. So, yeah, it was a pretty big moment in my life to receive that letter.
You know what I'm going to ask now?
Oh, you can't. I'm not going to read it. Are you going to ask me to read it?
Yeah, I'm going to ask you. You just showed everybody. You've got the letter right there. Can you read it for us?
Yeah. I'll try.
Okay. Give it your best, all right?
I'll have to go to a different place. Okay.
Take a deep breath.
All right, and he actually called it Reflections, which I thought was really cool. You know, he named the letter. Dear Alana, on the 5th of the 6th month of 1980, I was blessed with a 10-pound plus baby girl with blue eyes. She was later to develop fair curly hair, which to some earned her, oh, I'm not going to get through it.
No,
which to some
you can.
Okay. Which to some earned her the nickname of Little Johnny. That girl was you. When I was a teenager, I remember a woman saying to me, "You were too good looking to be a boy." I always thought to myself, I wonder if I had been a girl. I'm proud to say my question to myself was answered when you were born. Although we do have differences, you are like me in many ways. You have developed into a beautiful woman with many attributes. You have a great sense of humour with a daring nature for venture. You have created your own sense of individuality, and to my way of thinking, that is a great plus. You are a leader, not a follower. You are an achiever. You have worked hard to become a teacher, so don't let go of that. Whatever the target you set yourself, however formidable it may be, you will attain. You may lose the battle from time to time. Oh dear. But you will win the war. Sorry, True.
No, don't you dare be sorry. Don't you dare be sorry. I'm sorry, I haven't got bloody tissues near me.
I do, right there.
Keep going, that's so beautiful.
All right. Determination and resolution will prevail for you. I've always felt that you are part of me, particularly when we dance together. Talk about poetry in motion. It's as though two people become one. Sensational. Alana, I know I've put you on a pedestal, but I also know you are up to it. There are no better father-daughter combinations around. As your father, I have always been proud to have you as a daughter. I might not always make that obvious, but you can rest well assured that I have always loved you and always will.
Oh my goodness.
Winners are grinners, so just keep smiling. Your loving dad, John.
That is so beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Right.
Yeah.
Wow, to receive a letter like that, you can feel the love from it that comes out. And some people, it's hard to voice that love, you know, to someone, but to have that handwritten, for you to carry that around. If I had a letter like that, I'd carry it around everywhere with me too. I'd have it framed in my office. Everywhere you go.
I've always planned to frame it, so yeah, I don't know why I haven't gotten around to it, but.
Well, that is absolutely. So from that moment that you received that letter, had your relationship changed more with your dad? You mentioned dancing in there. What's this dancing?
Yeah, so I remember as like growing up, I didn't have much in common with Dad, and when I was 15, like my parents did rock and roll dancing, so and I'd just go along with them I remember to Toys restaurant. They used to go every Saturday night or something, and I was really bored there one night, and I said to my dad, "Can you teach me how to dance?" And he was kind of like, "Oh, all right," So I got up, and apparently I was doing intermediate moves straight off. And so that was something that really formed a strong bond between us. So him and I actually teach rock and roll dancing together now. They've got their own rock and roll club. My parents started, and him and I have been teaching that together for, I don't know, maybe 5 years or something. Maybe longer, 6 years.
Magnificent. That is so good. You got that common thread that you can talk about. And I have to ask, since he wrote that letter and that you're close with the dance and all that, has he opened up any more about Vietnam, or is he still pretty tight-lipped in regards to what happened over there?
Yeah, look, Dad's always been very open with what's happened over there, and I probably put that down to my mum being someone that's she's been to counsellors and psychologists, and so therefore encouraged my dad to do those things too. So, and he actually said the other day that him seeing a counsellor and psychologist and the different courses he's done on post-traumatic stress disorder have been what has saved him. So yeah, I've been really lucky that he has talked to me about a lot of those experiences. and that's, you know, like our family, we kind of went to a point of wanting to understand him more and us as a family more. So we're very close in that and supportive of each other. But like I've always been into things like psychology and I guess self-help and self-care, that kind of thing. So like it's almost like he's he might come across as strong and whatnot, but he's the person that I think my sister and my mum and I, we all want to protect him and love him, like, because we know that he's not exactly capable of giving that to us, but we can certainly give that to him. So yeah, we're very strong because of that, and like a close family. And I feel like I can talk to my dad about anything now. And yeah, it's been that way, I guess, since that letter.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And talking about loving and supporting him, I believe you did something special for him on Anzac Day this year, right? I mean, it's an Anzac Day with a difference because of the COVID-19 and all that. But can you explain to everyone what did you do for your dad this Anzac Day?
Well, I mean, look, it was started with Jay Scott. He's the one that organised the Anzac at the driveway thing. So, you know, seeing that idea coming up, and then I was just like, you know what, like, he can march around our court. My parents live in a court. So I said to him, I told him about like the driveway idea, and I said, Dad, I reckon we could go one better, and I reckon you could march around the court. You can suit up, and then Shoni and I can sing I Was Only 19. So that's what we did. It was the first time I've ever played guitar in front of anyone. I was terrified. I actually vomited 6 times before we went out and did that. But you kind of think, if Dad can get through Vietnam, we can get through this. And I think that's been something we've grown up with as well, is that kind of mentality of we can do this. Our dad did Vietnam.
So what was your dad's first initial reaction when you asked him to suit up and march around his court? I mean, that's kind of weird, but you know, very, very, very touching. And how did he react afterwards?
Well, he was all for it. He's not shy, my dad. He's a bit of a larrikin. So yeah, he was like, okay. But you know, he had like this leg injury, so the poor guy, I was trying to help him put his shoes on, like his feet wouldn't fit properly into his shoes. But he managed to get in there. So he walked around there, marched around there in pain. But honestly, it was one of the best Anzac days for us because of that. Yeah, it was very unique, and all of our neighbours came out to support him, and they, you know, all had like a little congregation at the end of it, and the neighbours met each other. And so, yeah, it brought their court together, which was really nice.
And what a beautiful sentiment to acknowledge and to respect your father for his service and for other people to do it. I mean, I did put out a challenge last interview, I think it was, with Anna from over in America, that if we see a Vietnam veteran with a hat on or with a top on, to go up and to thank them for their service. I mean, man, like you said before, they got snuck back in the middle of the mornings, and you know, some of them were spat on and called baby killers, and just were just not acknowledged at all in the general community of where we lived. And it's about time that we actually did that. So thank you so much for doing that, especially for your dad, and for mainly for like even the young kids in your court and all that, to say, hey, this is how we should be, you know, respecting and treating our veterans. And that would have done a lot for your dad personally, but even more so for those little kids and that generation growing up and say, you know what? We see someone in a uniform or someone with medals on their chest, and we need to honor them and we need to respect them. So what you did was planting some seeds there for future generations to show the respect that these Vietnam veterans and also the other veterans from Afghanistan and Iraq, or anyone that we see as a veteran, should be recognized. Now, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the group, or anything in regards to or your story, or as a departing little note?
I guess I just would encourage you all to talk to your dads. I know that you might not get the response that you want, but I just kind of think, look, we're only here for this one time, so why not just put yourself out there and see what's going to happen, and try to remember that, like, they're broken men, and I know that, you know, we are somewhat broken because of that experience, but we can also rise up to a better point, I guess, and we can approach them and give them the love that they're missing. Yeah, I just encourage everyone to talk to their dads
Oh,
and
absolutely.
love on them.
Yeah, love them. Absolutely love them. Well, thank you so much, Lani, for joining me today and to sharing your heart and that beautiful, absolutely beautiful letter that you have. Cherish that with everything that you got. Get it framed and put it up on that wall behind you or something. Cherish it forever. Have that in your generations to come. So look, there we have it, guys. There's another interview over and done with. If you'd like to be interviewed, or you have something on your heart that you want to share, like what Lani has just done, please drop me an email or a personal message within the group, and we can organise the time. So until our very next interview, Lani, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And I just want to thank you as well, Trev. Like, we so appreciate the work that you're doing. It's amazing, you know, and I think that this can provide so much healing to not only the veterans, but us as children, as veterans as well. And yeah, just thank you for what you're doing. It's amazing.
Well, all that love and support really does go a long way, because it has been tough getting through some of this stuff and organising, especially with the whole restrictions and the COVID-19 and everything going on. But I get messages nearly on a daily basis of support and thanks, just like what Lani has just done. So I do read them all. I might not be on the group a lot talking, because I've got a lot to plan at the moment. But I do get around to read everyone's posts, and especially the well wishes and the thanks, because that does drive me forward to keep going and keep pushing away and chipping away at this block, and to get this documentary out there, because it is going to be mind-blowing and life-changing, not just for us as CAVVs, but also that third generation and that fourth generation, because it will be man, I'm getting emotional just thinking about all the stories and everyone and all the work that I've got ahead of me. But it's going to be fantastic. I'm going to absolutely love every single second of it. So until next time, guys, keep loving and supporting each other. I'm looking forward to reading a lot of the comments on the posts from this video, and we'll catch you all very, very soon. See you guys. Bye.